Good evening, Miss Rita.
Hello, sir.
Who's
Hey, Rita.
talking?
Hi, Mike. Hi, Chris.
How's it going, Dennis?
So, Dennis, did you see the email from Tony?
No.
He's looking for somebody to take some classes for him. He got called back to work.
I didn't know he was even laid off.
Yeah, you better start checking your emails, man.
I'm doing that now.
Where's Tony teach at?
Big St. Charles Motorsports.
Yeah, there's one from Tony. I guess he was laid off, huh?
Yeah, for a few weeks, and he got the call back, and he actually got a different job, and it's actually going to be better for him. But it will involve different hours.
Good morning, everyone.
Just getting up?
I'll never tell.
I was thinking how it's past my bedtime.
Oh, come on, Don. It's only 7 o'clock on the East Coast.
Oh, God, it feels like 9.
You've had one of those days?
I have one of those days almost every day.
Well, I know the feeling. I've had one of those days the last 2 weeks.
But I will tell you, it's a good one of those days. I've just been hitting it hard, making myself tired every day. So what's new and exciting? Any brilliant thoughts this last week?
Well,
We had our first weekend of classes.
Yay!
Yeah,
Woohoo!
it's exciting.
Hey, Nicole, if you need any instructors up in the northern part of Illinois, let me know.
Are you
Are you
three-wheel
moving?
certified and can you teach during the week?
What's that?
Are you three-wheel certified and
All right.
can you teach during the week?
Yes and yes.
Oh,
Yes and yes. Yes
that
and
gets
yes.
tempting.
Oh, Don, you're too. Ron, you're too far away.
Says who?
I'm 4 hours from Chicago. What about you?
I don't know.
Pretty close.
Compared to what?
Compared to New York City or New England,
Aren't you in New York?
California.
Well, California is a little hazy right now, so.
He's in Rochester where they're getting rid of the police and everybody's resigning.
Retiring. There's a difference.
Yeah, you're right. They are retiring. I heard that.
All right. Let me see. I might be able to pick up some classes. Thanks, Carol, for letting me know about that.
Ron, you're not allowed to leave.
What's
You're
that?
welcome, Dennis.
You're not allowed to leave, Ron. What would we do without you?
Yeah, true.
I guess as long as you leave us the cards and you leave us the fuel, we'll be all set.
Yep. I can do that.
That's what I'm afraid of.
As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to do that next week. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm going to do that next week. I'll run away from home next week. How's that sound?
Ron left his truck with all the fuel, and yet somehow the range bikes are all empty still.
Oh, was I supposed to leave a credit card too?
Yeah, that
Not.
helps. Come on, Ron.
I'm sure I can get that from Paul or someone.
Okay.
Okay.
I wonder how many KTM 390s I could buy on the corporate credit card.
Hey, there's a KTM 200 out now, a Duke.
Yeah, I don't think I'll fit on that any better than I fit on the Z125.
Mr. McLean, good to see you. Welcome.
The 200 has a narrower seat and a shorter height.
I made the mistake of using a Z125 for a demo bike before I tried riding it first.
Now, what you have to understand is he's 6'4", 250 pounds.
We've had smaller students complaining the Z125 is too big of a bike. What are you experiencing with it?
It is. It's a really strange bike. It's got a tall seat, but yet, as I found out, your leg gets stuck between the foot peg and the handlebars if you try to do a limited space maneuver. So you have to throw your knees out really far, and then I don't think that's a good example for the students. Same thing like when I stopped using the TUs for doing demos.
Well, to me, the TUs work for me doing demos. My knee does get a little close, but I'm 6 foot tall.
Yeah, there's probably a joke that goes with that, but, you know.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. Ron probably put you up to it, didn't he?
Yeah, give me a good old Kimco VNOx any day.
If only the suspensions on those lasted for more than a year. Or maybe if they
Depends on who's riding them.
repave our range so we don't have as many potholes or cracks.
No. Then it's not real world.
Are you going to put railroad tracks next?
No.
And which exercise has the left-turning vehicles?
All of them. Oh, there you are.
Hey, I will say this about one thing, and Don even replied back to me and congratulated me. I did get my ARC certification this past weekend.
That was you?
Yes, sir.
Where'd you go?
I went down to Rock City Harley Davidson in Little Rock, Arkansas, and got it done down there. The Sal Diaz is the Riding Academy manager, set it up, and I think it's Dave Tolbert out of Colorado came in to be the instructor. It was a good class. I enjoyed it.
Was it the MSF ARC or the Harley ARC? Like they use the BRC too, I think.
So what was that, Dean? Robin?
Was it the MSF ARC or the Harley ARC, which I think is kind of different?
Well, MSF, because Dave Tolbert came down, was the instructor. He's out of Colorado.
Nice.
The confusion comes in because Riding Academy calls the BRC2 the skilled rider course, so sometimes you'll hear Riding Academy coaches refer to it as the SRC.
I've heard that before.
But it's not the MSF SRC.
Yeah, and even then, not the license waiver version. They use the skill practice one.
So Dennis, was that the old ARC or was that the new one
New one.
with the workbook instead of the 3.5-hour classroom PowerPoint
Yes.
presentation?
It was actually only a couple-hour classroom. Rest of it was on the range. So, and it was the updated handbook with the RCG. At least to my knowledge, it's the updated version because from what I've been able to gather, they teach nothing but the updated BRCU at the dealership.
The handbook looked like a coloring book, right, Dennis?
Yeah, it was only, I don't know, 30 pages maybe.
That's the new
That much.
mark.
Okay.
And there was the pages in there. We got to compare the pictures. What's missing, what's not missing.
Hi, Lynn. Caught you with your mouth full.
Oh, Lynn's here? Okay.
You got a haircut too.
Hi, back at you.
Hi, Lynn.
So are you familiar with Zoom, Dan?
I've seen it, but I'm not 100% sure where to access it. Is it down there in reactions?
What are you talking about?
The Zoom hand.
No, I said Daniel.
Oh.
If he's
My bad.
familiar with the controls for this, or would it help for us to give him a little help?
You mean we have a rookie, newbie?
I just unmuted him. Let's find out if he talks.
Oh yeah, he can talk.
Oh, see? Score.
Now let's see if he can unmute himself. Hi, Dan.
It's Daniel.
Daniel, go. Okay.
Daniel.
We got it covered.
Daniel's an FMG.
No. He's from way back. It just happens to be his first time today on Zoom with us.
Okay.
Okay.
I've been on before on this first time on Happy Hour, but I've been on the Sunday before.
Have you?
Okay.
What all y'all can teach me? I just came to listen.
Well, you can
That's
certainly
okay.
throw out your ideas as well as everybody else does. Just consider the source sometimes.
It can be a rough crowd in here sometimes.
You think?
Like last week, pretty rough crowd.
I don't know. Ron can be kind of tough at times.
Well, you got to justify that. Is it Ron Hines or Ron BR?
Ron Hines, I guess. Of course, he always picks on me, so I think Mike puts him up to it. Hey, it's Wednesday. I've had one of those days.
Oh, actually, Carol puts us up to it.
Which Carol?
That one right there.
There was two Carols here. We still got them?
No, just one.
It's probably
Yes,
the
that
Carol
Carol.
I'm thinking of, I'm sure. The one that's
So-
walking in her house, I
Welcome
think.
to Ron BR, whomever you are. It helps sometimes if you put your full name and also let people know where you are from, like Mike has and Rita has up there. And then welcome John P. in South Carolina. So what did you think was the coolest part about the ARC, Dennis?
A lot of it to me was the range exercises. Now, many of them I did pretty good on them. There's a few of them, yes, I'll admit I could have used more practice. And the one that gave me the most part, and I don't remember the exercise number. Where's my cards? No, I think I put them away. But the one where they have the circles, 3 different circles, range circles, and
Yep.
there's various dimensions, and you rode around or rode in one and out the other and so forth. With my big blue beast, as you can see in the background, sometimes that was a little difficult.
Why did you find it difficult?
I think it's more the fact, probably with me, there's probably being a little paranoid about making sure I didn't want to lay it down. I came very close a couple times. I know, Ron, you're laughing at me, aren't you?
No, sir, I am not laughing at you, okay? Because that's the exact thing we hear when we try to promote the ARC or the skills practice or the old ERC. I'd like to take that course, but I really don't want to lay my bike down. Well, okay, I got an answer for you. Go back and take the beginner course on a course motorcycle and learn how to ride, damn it.
That's a valid point, Ron. You're right there, because I know a lot of it's probably my paranoia about, I don't want to lay the bike down at all, because that's an 800-pound beast.
How do you really feel, Ron?
What's that, Lynn?
Well, that's what I tell them. They tell me that they don't want to drop their bike, and I just say, hey, go take a beginner course then. If you're that afraid of dropping your bike, then you need to learn how to ride it.
Well, and you can use this internal dialogue and say, well, the better dialogue would be, well, then don't drop it. Just, you can evade that situation.
Oh, I can't do that, Robin. Come on, that would be giving in to them.
We're not here to have fun. Wait.
One of the things I'm thinking about, I will admit, in some of those exercises, and I'm sure some of you may have done it at times, when you're trying to go around a tight turn, you may have a tendency to look down at the cone, and you know better than to do that crap. You got to look where you want to go. And so I know a couple times I did that myself, and that threw off my game plan.
Is your rear brake linked to your front? I mean, I'm sure your front brake is linked to your rear, but does it do vice versa?
Yes, it is. I got a linked braking system.
Yeah, but I mean, so like the linkage on mine is only for the front side. If I use the rear brake, I get front.
Well, in this case, when I was doing the exercises, going real slow, I was using the rear brake and probably a little friction zone as well. But I'm more adapt to using friction zone versus rear brake, but that's me. And some of your other coaches may be more inclined with the rear brake, or both. It depends.
At least you didn't do it. At least you didn't wear a bicycle helmet and a construction guy. I got the text when that happened, and I
heard about that one.
couldn't.
Wasn't that on Facebook? I see a picture of Robin.
Yeah, I accidentally hit the wrong. I always turn it off on a meeting because nobody wants to watch.
Did you see the thing on Facebook about the Alpharetta Police Department with the radar?
No.
They clocked a sport bike at 178 miles an hour.
Oh, did the kid survive?
Yeah, he took off. They didn't chase him.
Well, at that speed, I wouldn't bother. I hate to be it that way, but if he wants to be that crazy, that's up to him.
What was he on?
Literally short-lived.
Sport. Some kind of super sport.
He was on a lightning bolt.
Driving around Atlanta like that's nuts.
I'm looking at your exercise, Dennis. I like it.
Yeah, well, what exercise was that? 5 or 6?
5.
5, okay. Yeah, I had a few issues with it, but then the more I practiced it, the better I got at it, and I did knock down a few cones. But I know part of that was I had the highway pegs under. I should have lifted them up and get them out of the way as best I could.
It sounds like you learned some things.
Hey, this old guy can still learn some things, Rita. Come on.
My favorite is still exercise 8, the decreasing radius curves.
Oh, yeah.
Into
You
the
know what? Let me get
swerve,
my range cards.
into the quick stop.
Back when we had taller cones, I would always pick off those decreasing radius cones with my heels going around. I was like, "Rats, I got another one."
Carol, what are you doing?
I'm
Carol, what
walking
are you
into
doing?
church. I am walking
Oh.
into church. It's okay.
Okay.
And I'm going to get a beer.
That's my kind of church.
It is.
It's her kind of church too.
We're all going to start drinking.
Drinking, I've already started. Had one of those days.
All right,
I
be right
haven't
back.
attended one of these without having a beer in my hand. Yeah, I'm about to crack my first one out.
How can you do this? How can you teach these courses and not drink, right?
Good grief. How did a Harley pen get in my notebook?
It's a hostile takeover.
Oh, is that what it was? Around exercise
Wait.
5 was the one with the 3 circles, or 3 weaves, circle weaves. 6 was the one with the 2 where you did the cones. You went around those, and that was a good one. I enjoyed that one. I did that one better than I did 5.
That's from the previous one.
I'll pull my art cards out. Hold on here.
Oh, crap.
Everybody's pulling out the books now. Getting deep.
Well, I think it's interesting to note that he actually had figured out why he had trouble because he was looking down. Where did that come from?
I don't know, but I bet he said it to other students before.
Probably once or twice.
Exercise 5. Let's see here.
All right.
Yeah, exercise 8 is what's up. That's a good time.
That's the John Del Vecchio exercise.
Well,
That decreasing radius.
How dare you use the Lord's name in vain?
I didn't say Don Green. I said John Del Vecchio. Oh, where'd that come from?
he's been sponsoring our podcast, and the second round of it, it's like his sponsorship message, and then I just immediately drop an F-bomb talking to the other.
Ask him about his car.
He's not on the podcast. He's just, Well, what about his?
Oh, he's got a new car. What is it? What is it, Mike? An Audi GT. Mike,
This
hello?
expression as a response is rhetorical.
What's that?
That's my rhetorical response. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got an Audi GT, and he's just having fun with it and just loving life. And I wonder how he's going to do cornering confidence in that.
With 4 wheels.
They corner quite well, actually.
Yes.
I mean, Dennis has a Goldwing. Let's ask him.
Until you put titanium feelers on the pegs of your Goldwing.
Titanium what?
You put titanium feelers on there, so as I follow you around the tail of the dragon, sparks come off your gold wing.
Oh, but that happens anyway when the last time I went to the tail of the dragon. Of course, that's been about 5 or 6 years ago. I need to go back.
You know, I'm running the tour next year if you want to go. Are you, you ever read the Cherahalla?
What's
Yeah, I ruined a cell phone up there.
How's that?
Just a little bit of rain.
Just a little bit. How many inches was it?
Yeah, I don't know. Visibility dropped to about 5 feet.
That much visibility, huh?
Yeah, enough that you could see, oh, there's the edge of the road.
That's like one time I was riding the southern edge of the Blue Ridge Parkway, and it was so freaking foggy, you could barely see in front of your bike until I had a
I'm not either, which is why
bear
I'm trying-
cub run out in front of me. Oh, Carol, you look like you're at the bar of the church, huh?
I am at Church of the Bar. Hey, I was going to ask you, Dennis. Wait, are you going to try and work and over at the Park District to run ARCs?
I may try that, but then if there's got any this year, I'll definitely try it since Illinois is not doing anything.
I can tell you, the bike gets a little squirrely out there with the tar snakes. It's kind of fun and interesting.
Compared to your Versus, it gets a little squirrely. My wing and your Versus, or you got the.
Hey, I tried it on both bikes. It gets
okay.
a little squirrely out there, especially in the circuit.
It's okay. I may try it if I can get in there. Every time I've tried to teach at parks, I always had something else going on. Tell Bob I said hi.
You mentioned the thing setting up sparks. I used to work with a guy. He was an older guy. He was senior when I met him. One of our instructors back in the day, and his name was Emil, but everybody called him Sparky because he would lay a trail of sparks down behind him. And when he passed away, they had pictures of him back in the day with his old motorcycles and his leather jacket, and the guy was a stud. It was awesome. So I have a soft spot for Sparky Tails.
That's how all the little pegs under my, little sticks, if you want to call it, under my highway pegs got rubbed down or broken off doing those twisties out there at the tail of the dragon. I'm getting to the point I may have to replace my highway pegs, as even the rubber part of them in the bottom is starting to show a lot of wear and tear.
Sounds to me like maybe you should change the body positioning a little bit so you're not
Could be.
so much.
It could be. But, you know, even this weekend I was scraping some pegs on a couple of the exercises.
And once again, I would say the same thing.
Come on, Doc, can't I have some fun?
Well, the fun is changing your body position so you don't ruin expensive.
Well, I did change my body position on the one, like you said, when you bring your chin up to your wrist, left wrist or right wrist, when you're making those turns, and have the bike in the appropriate position. So I would like to get out and try to teach it maybe one arc this year, if possible, for sure next year.
All right, so you should all come on up to, I'll be at Road America on Monday. Come up there, and then we'll get some body positioning things going on.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Wait, Robin, this Monday? Because Jason said he's going next Monday.
I don't, wait, no, you stop.
No, I'm kidding.
I got a BRC2 Saturday in Milwaukee, and I'm going to Road America America for Monday.
I just thought I'd mess with you since you didn't remember what time.
Come back here and then go.
Last time.
Stop it!
So Dennis, Dave Tolbert just contacted me and said, yeah, you need to work on your position a little bit better.
Oh. Is that you being truthful there, Daddy? You throwing me a line of bull?
Both.
Okay, that's what I thought. I'll admit I need to work on my positioning, but you know, Because the more you practice, the better you get at it, right, gang?
That's right. That is right.
So the next time I teach, which is this coming Monday and Tuesday out of Big, I got a day class. I'm going to try to practice a little bit on my bike, but although that is a compact range.
Just need a compact Goldwing.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, there's a reason I scheduled it to teach this class next Monday and Tuesday. Well, actually, I could not do it on my own bike because Monday I'm gonna have a new tires put on there. That's why I did schedule the class that time. Method to my madness. Maybe I could do it Tuesday.
So I'm working on a project with Laura Holland a little bit, and she's not here tonight. And I thought I'd throw it out to the group to ask what everybody's input would be for this. If you were going to have an information session for potential rider coach candidates, what would you tell them to manage their expectations for becoming a rider coach when they haven't participated in anything yet?
The first thing I'd ask them is, how long ago was it since you took the BRC?
Or any, for that matter, any class, any motorcycle class. Whether it's a BRC2 or what.
I'd warn them that they're a sounding board for the curriculum. It's not a personal authoritative authority of the position.
You're doing the max headroom again, Robin.
I was saying I would warn them as they're going to be a speaker for the curriculum, not for themselves. They're not the authority on motorcycling. They're there to convey the information.
Got it. Thanks.
You know, I don't sugarcoat the process at all. I want them to know up front, you know, you're going to be in a class as a student. You're going to be here following a couple of classes, shadowing, and getting some input. And the more of that you do, the better prepared you will be for your actual training experience in the RiderCoach Prep. And then after that, there's more mentored coaching, you know, which furthers the training, and that it's an ongoing process. And, you know, I just try to let them come in with their eyes wide open about the time that they're going to need to commit to doing this. And that there's, you know, here in New York, we've got different layers of certification, not with this course, but some of us are driving schools. So we have another animal to contend with certification wise with that. And I find that helps weed out some people up front that are like, oh, you know, no, I thought this was like a one weekend thing and I'd be good. And, you know, it kind of gets rid of those people, and other people, it piques their interest, you know, that they see, oh, wow, this is really involved, and they have more of a stake in the game, I guess. So.
Well, along that line with what you're saying, Lynn, I think most coaches are coach candidates. We need to tell them that you really need to stick your nose to the book, know the RCG and the exercises, because what is it? You know, in Missouri, I know it's at least 7 days long straight if it's a nonstop. And the more you know about the book and the range cards before you actually start the class, I think the better off you're going to be, and have an open mind coming into it.
Mm-hmm. You know, I just acknowledge to them up front, you know what, it's a bit of work to get certified. You're going to have to make a time commitment. You're going to have to put in some energy, and but you know, the back end is a lot of fun. It's very rewarding, And you can kind of set your own schedule. Most of our coaches don't, work full time. In my case, I kind of throw out a schedule wish list in the spring and say, hey, when do you want to work? And I've got some coaches that will give me specific dates and some that will say only weekends, X number of classes, and however the information comes to me, I kind of sort it out. So it's something that they can likely work around their own personal lives and schedule and stuff. And, I tell the coaches, hey, if my wish list says Monday and Tuesday classes, but you're available to teach on Tuesday and Wednesday, well, for goodness sake, let me know. I'll switch those classes to Tuesday and Wednesday. So, that there's some flexibility to it for them, which is helpful.
And I tell my family, if you want to see me on specific dates, let me know the first of the year so I can put them on my schedule so I won't teach those weeks or those dates.
Mm-hmm.
Carol, that's pretty much the same with me with my teaching. When we had a full class going on, or a full year of classes going on, like compared to this year where we didn't, or what I lose out on about 10 or 15 classes.
Yep.
That just you personally, Dennis, or your site?
Regionally, because I lost out on about 10 or 15 classes, and I think Carol told me one time she lost out on better than 20 classes.
Yeah.
Because of COVID-19, because she teaches, a lot more than I do, more than twice what I usually teach.
Yeah, well,
Carol does that just so her husband can keep an eye on her better, right?
I don't know about that. I can tell you we lost out on 49 classes.
We were down for a good 3 months, right, Ron?
I can tell you, my husband, it's not the way my husband keeps track of me.
I'm going to leave that one alone, Carol. It's between you and Bob.
Hey, you're the one who brought it up.
Hey, I had to stir up the bucket somehow.
John, another thing I like to point out to the candidates is that, my own experience was that in the weeks, maybe the 6 weeks after my RiderCoach Prep, that my own riding improved tremendously because I had a different thought process in looking at what I was doing. And, separate from the whole becoming a coach thing, there was growth in becoming a rider because my thoughts were redirected and, that stuff all became executive function, but it has to get there through that thought process. So, that was a little perk that came along with the process.
Getting this all down, Don?
Well, I'm a slow rider. It's a good thing I go back and watch this a couple times.
Nicole, Arid, I'd like to hear about how classes went this past weekend and how many students actually showed up, how everything went with all the restrictions under which you had to work.
Things went well, actually. We had some little logistical questions come up as classes were getting started on Saturday morning. We ran all the classes that were scheduled to run except for one BRC2 and one ARC. Not enough students showed up for either of those classes to run. But otherwise, we met minimum on all of our other classes, which was good because looking at the e-course completion numbers late last week, it wasn't looking good at all. There must have been a lot of last minute completions.
How much pushback did the coaches have with all the hoops that had to be jumped through with the screening at the door and having to wear masks everywhere and wristbands and so forth?
Zero resistance. In fact, we had 3 sites report how very compliant their students were with everything. People got a little forgetful on the range at times about social distancing, but there were a couple reminders and that was sufficient. Nobody was upset about it at all.
What was decided about having to wear face masks with full face helmets?
You know, I'm not clear on that actually.
Because I remember that was a question on the meeting y'all had.
Yeah, I had forgotten about that. Scott was going to look into it, and I'm not sure if he ever got an answer. I know personally, my helmet is snug as it is. There's no way I could get a mask to stay on and put my helmet on over it.
Well, that's one of the things I learned with teaching at community college here. They want masks on everybody, no matter where you're at on campus, even with a helmet on.
Mm-hmm.
And I told students the last time I taught, I think it was a week or so ago, that those that have full face helmets on, I'm really not going to worry about it. Because as Nicole just said, it's extremely difficult to do that. And I said, even with 3/4 helmets, if the mask slips down below your mouth, I'm not going to worry about it, because you do have social distancing then. That's common sense to me.
Yeah, unfortunately, our plan was only approved with masks at all times, regardless of whether social distance was able to be maintained or not.
We've got masks for indoor use, or in circumstances where social distancing can't be maintained. And once the college kind of came back online, in the summer it was just us and the police academy on campus, and we did our own COVID screening. And then once staff and faculty, and then finally students started to come online, they hired an agency to do the COVID screening during the week, but they're not there on the weekends. So we continue to do our own COVID screening on the weekends. And in fact, now that the students are on campus, the screening agency is there with abbreviated hours on the weekend. They start a little bit later, and only certain buildings are open. So they actually gave us a box of wristbands just for our use. They're white, and they said, on the weekends, screen your people, but they'll need a wristband to enter the buildings. And so we've been doing our screening, and everybody gets a white wristband, and they know they're with the motorcycle program. So far so good. It's been a lot of changes along the way, and it seems almost weekly they're changing where students need to go to get screened. So I'm always jumping into res and saying, okay, now you need to go here. So people get that message through the settings menu on what action to take.
Yeah, I think people were just so grateful that we're finally having classes here that they're willing to do about anything, to be honest. And I went and visited one class over the weekend, and I don't think there was anybody who had a full face helmet on. So the mask issue was not an issue at that site. I think most of our students end up not wearing full face helmets. So
Nicole, did you see that message from Dennis?
I saw some messages from Dennis. I'm admittedly driving at the moment, so if he sent one recently, I haven't seen it.
We're all just in the passenger seat. That's all. So Dennis says he's interested in you out in the northern part of next year as well.
Okay, Dennis, I'll message you as soon as I can.
All right, Nicole, I appreciate it. We'll go, you can IM me on Facebook on the Facebook page for coaches if you want, if you're in that too.
Okay, I'm probably going to ask you to send me an email, but I'll type my email address into the chat for you so you have it.
Roger that.
Cool.
I don't mind going to other parts of the country. I can't get into New York because Ron won't let me. Or maybe Mike won't. I'm not sure who.
I am,
Dennis,
I am definitely not
wanna...
the boss here. I am a lowly peon.
Dennis, you're just trying to be like me.
What, stir the bucket?
No, working in a lot of different states.
Well, I don't mind doing it myself. I really don't. You know, I don't mind going in other places in Illinois. Unfortunately, the southern part of the state is not having classes this year. I hope we will next year, but we'll see.
Carol, what
I
else
do
do
love-
you work in?
I'm certified currently in Iowa, Nebraska, which is going to fall off this year because we don't have the apartment up there anymore. Illinois and Missouri.
Nice. Did that take any? So they accepted out-of-state IDs.
In all of those states, yes. In Illinois, I can only teach with the SIU program. I can't like teach at a dealership.
I think we're going to actually make it to the Pacific Northwest this round, so I got to figure out that. You know. Actually, no, I don't, because I remember that Christopher Rector hooked me up on something. I reached out. I just got to reach out again about it because they never. Maybe they read my resume. Horrible. Everybody be quiet.
Okay.
Is there an
Doc,
MSF?
ready?
Is there an MSF program in Canada?
There are places in Canada that use the MSF curriculum. Yes.
That's an interesting question.
I mean, honestly, from where we are, I'm closer to Canada than, actually, yeah, closer to Canada than any other state.
Hey, Don,
Yes.
you were in the military MSF program, right?
I worked for a contractor that provided MSF curriculum to military. Yes.
Do you know if they've got any training courses at Kadena Air Force Base?
Yes, they do.
They do?
Yes.
All right. I had a prospective student contact me this morning about that, and I didn't know if they had anybody over in Kadena, Japan.
Yes. So over there, typically the Air Force provides their own rider coaches. So they should be able to register through their local safety office to take a course.
Okay. Yeah, I contacted Arthur with the Air Force,
Yeah.
the Air Force coordinator, and he never got back with me. So I'll give my my prospective student the update because she's trying to find a course in Illinois and everything's booked up.
You know, the Air Force does things differently.
Mm-hmm.
The Air Force does things differently sometimes, and depending on where you go in the Air Force, different commands look at taking the basic rider course differently. And I'll give you an example. When I was in Germany, the Air Force command there said that if you did not come with a basic rider course completion card, they would not teach you the BRC. They would teach you the BRC2 or the ARC if it was available. But it was up to you to accomplish that before you go overseas, just like it would be up to you to get your driver's license.
Yeah.
So,
this young lady's going out on deployment in January, so she's got basically 7 weeks to get her license through an Illinois program.
I would see if I could do her the favor just to ease her way. Now, that aside, I know that there is a decent program on Okinawa, and I think at Kadena she would be okay. And if not, there's always the Army program on South Korea, which is a couple hours or a nice long weekend. But I don't know if she could skate into that or not.
Yeah, she's like I said, she's getting ready to go out on a 3-year deployment. So she told me this morning that she's leaving in January, and she's going to be stationed over there for 3 years.
Where is she located?
Southern Illinois.
Okay.
She's willing to go pretty much anywhere, Nicole.
Okay.
If we could get her in a class, I'd put her in a class somewhere.
Chris, is she down at Scott Air Force Base?
No, she's at another base.
We have had a number of students drop after public enrollment has closed for their class, and we've been able to squeak 1 or 2 people randomly into classes at the last minute.
Okay.
So do you want to send me her information? And
yeah, I'll give you a call tomorrow.
okay.
So we should be able to maybe get something worked out for her.
Maybe, yeah, if she's willing to travel and if she's willing to do it on short notice, because we don't have any spots otherwise.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and take off here. I got to take my daughter to the store. She needs a notebook for school. So nursing. Or nursing. Okay. All right, so everybody have a good evening.
Take care, Christopher.
Good night, Christopher.
Good night.
Thanks, Chris. Be safe.
Belinda, tell me about your course, if you would.
You mean the class I'm taking?
Yeah.
Yeah. Since I can't see clients right now, I had to close my practice. I decided to go back and take some master level classes in counseling to help with the hours to my LPC. And so this semester I am taking marriage and couples. The first couple weeks have been pretty easy because I'm a seminary dropout, y'all. I like completely fell flat on my face second semester of seminary because I'm like, hey, you know what? If I got to talk about this kind of stuff, if someone's dying, which is what I'm called to do, it's not going to work for me. So anyways, I took part of marriage and family already. And so it was kind of easy. And I've worked with couples. Like, I hate doing couples counseling, by the way, which is why I hate whenever couples take my classes in motorcycling. This motorcycling is not a couples counseling place, guys. People try it. It doesn't work. But yeah, so I'm taking marriage and couples this semester. That's where I've been. That's why I don't log in. I have been able to log in the last couple weeks because we have a Zoom class from 5 to 6:30. It's gone remote. And but yeah, I just kind of jumped off there and jumped in here.
So I have.
And how does that make you feel?
Say again?
And how does that make you feel?
Yeah. I'm very open about not liking couples in my classes and motorcycle classes. And I'm very open about not liking couples counseling either. So
it was the rhetorical brain question sort of.
Oh no, I don't like it.
You know, the couples thing can go 2 ways, though. You know, sometimes couples in class they're fine with each other and supportive and not intrusive, and you know, other times, of course, it falls apart. But I don't know, the times where we've had couples where usually it's the husband interfering and you know, with the wife's progress. You know, if you take them aside and say, hey, dude, you know, you're not helping, and you know, it'd be better if you took a step back. Usually they do, and usually it works out okay. I have to say, I haven't had something that was like a persistent problem through the whole class. You know, if we saw there was an issue, we kind of nipped it in the bud and things went okay.
Yeah, I mean, I deal with that. It's funny because like I tell people I have a range rule, and I make it very clear on Friday nights when I have my ladies that say that their husbands are experienced and that they're riders. I tell them I have a no husband and no boyfriend rule and on my range. And I've only had one that kind of huffed at me when I was like, can you please leave? I've done so much work with her to get her out of her head. Can you please leave? Because you've just completely like messed up everything. But I do, I really do have a no boyfriend and no husband rule. Same thing goes for my gentlemen too, though. If their ladies show up and they start acting like an ass and trying to be cocky and they start messing up, they're out there.
I sent one home today. The husband showed up during testing, and she looked and said, "Go away." I looked at her and said, "You go inside the building now. That way she can't see you. You can't see her. She's going to do just fine." And he did. He respected that.
I always say, go buy them something nice. You go inside and buy them something nice because they're out here doing this. You know, there's plenty of nice, cool stuff inside. Go in there and buy them. But yeah, no, I don't. Like I said, I'm just kind of one of those. Our job is to keep our range safe, and if our students, especially our ladies, completely go blank when they see the husband roll in, that's not safe. And so yeah, so that's kind of that's why I tell the gentleman, I'm like, hey, why don't you go away and go inside and buy her something nice? Go buy her some flowers or something. So.
Did you have a question, Nicole?
What's that?
Did you have a question for Belinda? I heard you chime in and then.
No.
Okay. I have a question for Belinda then. So you don't like the marriage and couples class. What do you actually specialize in, and does it help you as a rider coach?
Oh, so I like the class. I don't like working with couples. I actually specialize in grief. So like, how can I say it? Actually, my students this past weekend helped me coin a new thing. I actually work in death and life. So no, I teach about death and life, right? So I like it, and it actually helps me with being a rider coach. Now, like I said, I specialize in working with people that are dying or have lost someone. And I loss in general, a grief in general is okay, but I'm more of a death, like loss is what I specialize in. I'm actually getting to go. I'm excited. I might see some of you guys because along the way we're stopping in every dealership. But my mom and I'm heading to Colorado the first week in October to do training on suicide grief. And so I get to spend, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I'm so excited I get to spend a whole week talking about helping people that have lost somebody to suicide. And actually the grief thing has been really cool because this past weekend, like I said, I had two ladies that we were talking, and they both shared with me some losses they've had in their lives. And, you know, I was able to take that and help them relax, and just talking to them that way. They came in all nervous, and then by the end of Friday night, they were like, okay, we're ready to do this. So, yep. It does help as a rider coach though.
I've had some experience with like people who deal with palliative care, and they certainly do a lot to help people work with grief that is coming, you know, for a lack of a better term. And yeah, my hats are off to y'all. That's it's never an easy thing to work through when somebody is grieving, and there are a lot of people out there that need extra people to help them through that. So I commend you on what you do.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, like I said,
Damn, another compliment.
Sorry.
Nothing.
No, that's it. So yeah, but no, that's what I'm designed to do. So that's what, yeah, I do what I do.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. Go ahead.
Dennis, I switched devices. Did you get my message with email address in the chat?
Yeah, Nicole, I just replied back. I'll send you an email in the next couple of days. If you don't reply for a while, that's okay. I understand. We're all busy.
Okay, awesome.
I am interested in helping out when I could and where I could.
We appreciate it.
Who here has heard of the term, or possibly used in the past, what is known as a learning contract? Anyone? Has anybody ever seen anything like that before? Oh. All right. What would you assume that a learning contract is?
I think you're full, Mr. Rogers, on that. You're gonna have to.
What would you assume a learning contract is?
I would say learning contract would be something between you and a student saying that they're going to be responsible for their own learning. I did a learning contract with my son when he was like 6.
Did he
And it was notarized in the whole bit. So that's what I would assume a learning contract would be. You know, they're responsible for their own learning if they're not willing to go, you know, to make that effort.
Or I'm going to sign up for 10 piano lessons and I'm going to practice an hour a week at least to meet my, you know, practice schedule. And there's an expectation that I'm going to do a piece at the end of the month recital, you know, as part of this being a student in this studio, you know, something like that.
Nicole, did you say it was notarized? Was that to help a 6-year-old learn about notary?
No, it was notarized to make sure that he did what he needed to do. I have a friend who was a notary, and he just, you know, he put his notary on it to make it look all official. It worked out. It worked for a few weeks. I still have it. I have it in the other room framed. So.
So I'm looking and I don't see it, but there used to be a version of a learning contract within the Rensselaer Library.
Yeah.
And maybe I just am seeing it now. But again, back to the thing I'm working for future candidates is a contract that they will meet certain requirements. Kind of an expectation management thing before they're allowed to go to a prep. What are your thoughts on that?
We kind of have that in place here in New York, you know, that before you can go to a prep, there's certain state requirements that tie in with the DMV instructor stuff. You have to have a high school diploma and no felony arrests and, you know, a bunch of legal stuff like that, over age 21. Then you need to participate in the BRC as a student. You need to shadow at least one class, preferably more. You need to have, you know, produce certain documents and stuff. And that would be just to be considered for a place in a prep. So it's, you know, bits and pieces of that are in place already.
Do they actually sign a document?
I don't think there is a signed document. I think it's just that it doesn't move forward unless those objectives are met.
And the only thing they sign is the application, right, Lynn?
I'm wondering if they even signed that. I guess they must do, but I can't recall off the top of my head.
Don, are you talking about an actual contract? Yeah, when you announced it, I didn't think you said contract. I thought you said something else, but that's beside the point. But we all have a learning contract. We have a learning contract with our students. It's not necessarily documented, but it's definitely implied because we are there to help them learn how to ride a motorcycle, blah, blah, blah. And they are there to actually learn and help us be able to learn from them. So we have an interactive contract between our students and ourselves. Say it again?
A verbal contract or a...
And more implied than anything else. Yeah.
So
I
this
like
is,
I like your idea of trying to have them, oh, interesting.
you've probably heard me talk about Malcolm Knowles before. He is kind of America's chief smart guy on adult accelerated learning. It's, you know, when we talk about adult accelerated learning, he's a guy who made inroads starting in the 60s and 70s to establish it within the United States. And one of the tricks that he used was learning contracts to say, hey, if I'm going to be here for you and facilitate your learning, you have some requirements that need to be met, so that we have this reciprocal transactional type relationship. What are your thoughts on having candidates sign something like that up front as part of expectation management?
I like it because it gives them more, I mean, it makes them understand that it's serious. You know, you have to take this serious, because so many, I think that, like when teaching an RCP, a lot of people come in and they just think, oh, I'm just going to learn. I'm not going to crack the book until I get there. And, you know, if they have a contract, maybe, you know, they'll take it a little bit more serious and say, yeah, okay, maybe I do need to get this book open.
It might reduce the number of people that, you know, 5 days before the prep say, oh, well, you know, oh, sorry, I can't do it after all. I've got something else going on, you know, because it kind of locks in the intent and seriousness of it.
It also sets the stage for either their success or their failure.
And when you do that, you're really putting the onus on the candidate, not the program staff. Are you or are you not?
Yeah. I mean, if
You
they're
are.
going to sign it, then that's their contract. That's them saying that, yeah, I'm willing to do the work that I need to do to be successful in the class.
What are the downfalls or the pratfalls of having this as a document beforehand?
I guess if they sign it, they think that they're just going to automatically pass because they made that agreement. I don't know. That would be my thought.
I think that would be expressed in the document itself, that you must accomplish these things successfully.
Consequences, lack of consequences.
Well,
And right now in New York State, the RiderCoach Prep tuition is free. Now, obviously, there's could be some money spent for travel and lodging in other areas, but right now the cost of the tuition is free. So if they don't fulfill their part of the contract, all they have to do is give their books back and thank you very much. There's no consequences.
currently. But if you have a contract that says, if I do not successfully prepare, the cost of the course could be on me, would that be a?
Well, I think that my personal opinion and professional opinion, quite frankly, is that even though the tuition is free, we should have a deposit required from them to have a little skin in the game. I mean, that's how we started out in this state, and it's gone away. When people have to put money up, they're usually a little more eager to fulfill their obligation. And even if you take a deposit, you can actually give it back to them, if you will, for teaching a certain number of courses. So they get their money back, thank you very much. But if they do not go to the prep, or even if they fail the prep, then they forfeit their deposit.
Certainly some things to think about.
That's how it was
You
when
know-
I had my RiderCoach Prep run. You had a payment that you had to make, and once you teach 2 classes, it's refunded to you.
Don't let Mike hear us say that, because he's still looking.
You know, the contract, though, I mean, a contract is a two-way street. So if you're making a commitment, you know, from the provider end, you have to provide. And, you know, sometimes there's variables. I mean, I know here we might say we're having a prep at X location on X date, and different people around the state will be preparing towards that. But then if the numbers aren't met, it gets canceled. And meanwhile, the people have put in their work and their time, and all of a sudden the rug gets pulled out from under them. Maybe they've even taken time off from work that they can't readjust after the fact. And so it's an imperfect system, in my opinion, here, you know, that has some drawbacks to it. So, you know, I guess we have to look at what commitments we're agreeing to on our end, as far as can we meet them, you know, unilaterally.
So should we have some type of established, documented, regimented sign-off procedure as we go along, and then just have an easier way for MSF to come in and test the candidates?
Well, the first thing I will say is, you know, the testing of the candidates actually goes to the state program, unless you're contracting with MSF to come in. Although you're doing the MSF curriculum, I'm assuming that most states use their own RiderCoach trainers.
Okay, so what's the problem there? As long as it's documented and signed along the way, everybody knows what to expect, everybody knows what's happening. But Lynn's right, a lot of RCPs have gotten canceled. So how do we establish a procedure for the candidates to follow to load them up front so that no matter what, they can be prepared for the RiderCoach Prep? How do we do that?
Good question, Ron.
I try to ask good questions, Don.
What does everybody
Doesn't always work.
This is one of the problems I've run into with this research, is that every state does it so exotically different sometimes. You know, some programs are, I accept everybody. There is no reason for me not to. If they crash and burn, that's okay. This way, there are no legal problems with me saying yes or no about somebody going through. And then there are other people that have, like, my favorite is the RAT program, Range Aid Training Program. The RAT program. It's got a ring to it, you know? And so they have a sequence of things that potential rider coaches have to accomplish to show their interest and motivation before they even go to a prep. And so this goes back to a much bigger problem across the United States, and this is just Don's opinion, so, you know, don't quote me on this. Or if you would like, say it's just my opinion. We need to find a way to standardize what we do a little bit better, and I think some of the inconsistencies will go away.
Our problem is we're not a state-run program. Everything is independently run. So even the RiderCoach Prep courses are independently run. It's, you have a trainer and they decide, well, they're you know, I participate and, you know, audit the programs or assist in the programs, obviously. But yeah, to get an RCP to go right now, I mean, we're planning on doing one in October, and I don't, you know, I get calls all the time. Oh, I want to be a rider coach. What do I need to do to be a rider coach? And then you send them the information and it's too much for them. And so we're lucky to get four people to even sign up and pay for it. Again, they have to pay for it. But, you know, and it's not $100 like it says that on the MSF website.
It's another fine example. Just off the top of my head, do you guys receive, was it 402 and 405 funds? Is that what they are for the state?
Repeat that?
You receive funds from NHTSA. I think they're called what? No, one of them supports.
Right. The 402 or 405. Yeah. No, not for. Well, unless they are, unless they request it in a grant, they need to request it in a grant. So yes, one of the schools does, and they get funding. Well, only for paying the RiderCoach trainer. So if the individuals are from another school, like tech school or VOTEC or technical college, then they don't have to pay. But they're the only ones because the other two don't request that in their grant. And like Lisa Brogdon, she's a trainer. She's not eligible for that because she's an independent. She can't get a grant. She's not eligible for grant because she works through the Harley dealership.
So the reason why I ask this is if those funds are coming through the state, they're going to a driver's education or rider's education program. Even if you have all independents, and that's how it's set up, that makes a manager of some sort somewhere within the state that has some responsibility to show where those funds are going. Yes or no?
Yeah, we don't have that. No, it's all independently run. I mean, it's because we're just an oversight state. We're not a state funded state. You know, we give grant money to the schools who are eligible for that. You know, universities, colleges, and stuff like that. But if you're an independent school, you're for profit. You cannot get grant monies for that.
So has Oklahoma, just because I don't have it handy and can't look at it, has Oklahoma ever used the NHTSA assessment program?
No.
Interesting.
So, and this is interesting that we're talking about this because I just moved over to the highway safety office. So I'm just learning about all this stuff right now, which I never knew about. So thank you very much for bringing that up. But again, you know, I've tried to get the state to go to the RST and stuff like that, and they're not interested in that at all because we don't have the resources to do that.
Okay.
We're doing our baby steps. We're doing our baby steps. Remember, it was 7 years ago. We didn't even have an auditing program. It was wild, wild west out here.
And I will tell you that it's not unusual, Nicole. And you know, I'm sorry that you're having to go through this, but that's, you know, for people who aren't in states that don't have a program like yours, it's hard for them to fathom because they have so many things and hoops that they may have to jump through. I think Alabama may be not similar, but close to similar with how their program runs. Yes or no, Belinda?
Repeat that one. How is it similar? And to, what are you talking about?
Yeah, who oversees Alabama rider training program?
Do I have to use names?
No.
No, we only have one. I think we have one gentleman. We have Boss Man. I just call him Boss Man. Yeah. So Rick and I think so. I think I'm not sure if it's going to change in 2021 because we had a retirement and I think he might have slipped in there. And so, but yeah. So Rick is Boss Man, and we have changes up and back and forth this year. But for me, for RiderCoach Prep, we had a really interesting, like it was just really cool for me because, and yes, Ron, I do agree, money in the game, you got to put some skin in the game, right? Because if I didn't pay, but of course, and then also, Nicole, like you said, when that big old fat book showed up in my mailbox, I was like, oh my God, what did I just get into? I'm like, but yes, so I had a great unique experience with my RiderCoach Prep because we had trained the trainer that week. So all of, probably some of you guys' people from all over the country came to Alabama to learn to be a trainer. And I think maybe even a Lisa person you talked about. Anyways, so I had 7 trainers for our class. So we learned from 7 different people. So I had a very unique experience with mine, which I feel like planted a good seed. But yeah, since then, I think we've only had, and that was in 2000, it was in April of 2000, what is this, so 18. And I think we've only had maybe 2 since then because we have a hard time people getting filled up. And I think one or 2 of those RiderCoach Prep classes was a whole team from Florida that came up, and Rick trained them. So Rick and Jared are our trainers in Alabama.
So Sarah, who just joined us, Sarah and I went through with Rick Randolph down in Montebello. We did the same thing. We had trainers being trained.
So what class? You guys were not trainers. So what year was that?
That was
2017. Yeah, that was March and April. Yep.
17. So we had trainers being trained, trainers being trained. We had trainers coming in for a TRCP. So we had 8 of them. Plus we had our rider coaches being trained, and then our classes being trained. We had so many people there, we didn't know what we were doing.
Same thing for us, but we had a blast though. But so yeah, you guys were a year before me then. And like, look, Rick is I tease because Rick is an amazing trainer. Like so you're talking about the requirements of having to take the BRC. So I took Harley. That's how I learned. Went to the Riding Academy. So when I did that, he was like, well, you need to take a BRC here, because I did level 1, I never done level 2, so I had to be a BRC student, and of course him and Jared were coaching that class, and that was interesting. But yes, so Rick is actually one of the best trainers in the country. I may give him a hard time, and he may be a handful, and I may have used a couple of not nice words as boss man, but we all do it. But like I said, he really is. If anybody's ever had the opportunity to train with Rick, then you've been touched by one of the greats. And when I say the words, that is a way, it's usually, it's his voice coming out of my mouth. And when people say, well, this is how they say do it, I said, well, that's a way to do it, yes. But yeah, so I think we're very similar.
Mm-hmm. Who did that?
And he's always very kind. He would always share his eggs from his chickens.
Yeah.
Like I said, do you remember?
Huh?
Do you remember where that originally came from? That is a way.
I don't know, but I hear
I see his face.
David Crouch's voice.
Yeah, that's it. That's who it is. Yeah.
David Crouch?
Yes, David. Yes. Because we gave him a plaque that says, well, that's a way. Because he was part of our training. He was training his trainers, like kind of thing. Like he was big trainer number 2, because we had 2 big classes. So Rick had one, David had the other, Dave had the other. And I still hear his voice in my head every single time I write exercise 5, go faster. And so yeah, so he's a pretty cool guy too. He's really great.
I'm liking the terminology, big trainer.
Yeah. Well, that was looking at it that way. I'm like, there's the big trainers, and then the trainer, and hopefully one day, I tell you that I hope to be one of you guys, and or from Alabama, y'all. Or you all actually is what we Kim.
Roll Tide.
Yeah, Kim Hunt hates it when we say that all the time. You all. But yeah, so one day I'll get to be maybe a big trainer like you guys.
You will. Yeah, we had the crazy guy and we had the hot air balloon. So.
Oh, and then there was the shot put range, and we had metal balls like rolling through the range too. That was fun. Yeah, yeah, we had three crazy things. They come in threes.
Yeah, Montevallo is a great range. If you guys ever do get a chance to come down here, I don't know if anybody's not been to Alabama in the Montevallo range. If they actually do the school bus rodeos on that range. And that's a really cool thing to watch. They actually did it the same week as our RiderCoach Prep. They had the school bus rodeo.
So looking at the way some of these larger preps are done, where you have,
I want to go to there.
Say again, Robin?
I want to go to a school bus rodeo.
Short bus? Is that what you said, Robin? What?
Thanks. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
It's been a day with you, hasn't it? So I was thinking about the hierarchy of, the bigger preps where you have T-squareds over trainer candidates, over rider coach candidates, over students, where all these things are coming together and optimal stress is put on rider coaches to perform because of all these layers of stress happening. And usually those are 10-day preps where the trainers come in early and then the rider coaches come in and lastly students come in. Do you think by changing to multiple weekend preps where we're just doing a prep with trainers and potential rider coaches that we sometimes have eliminated the stress that is helpful to figure out before people become rider coaches on how they will react to stress?
Is this where I get to say how much I hate the these people are over these people are over these people are over these people?
Yeah, you can say that. I know words matter, but I was just thinking of all the levels that were going on. Yeah, I just like the hierarchy too. So
because we are all rider coaches.
We are all rider coaches.
Oh, yes, we are definitely rider coaches. First of all, that's all we are rider. That's what we are. We're rider coaches.
Absolutely.
That's on you, because there are those at the higher level that never do anything else, but they call themselves other things. But I won't go down that path. The thing about having the different levels is, as long as there's conversation and communication, you learn so many different things from so many different people. Because when, like with us, we not only had the Tolbert and Davis were being trained as the trainers, but we had like Dennis and Dave Matthews and the guys from they were already trainers that were being transitioned. So we had that extra we had stress when they walked through the door going, okay, there's trainers now with us and we're going to look like a bunch of idiots, but you get to learn from their experiences too. And then we get to relay that down. They're gone, but we get to relay that extra, the extra information down to our rider coaches. So the levels it's overwhelming, but I think it's great, well, it's networking within our RCPs.
I think it really has more to do, not so much as levels as people who have more experience. When I teach with a rider coach who has much more quality experience than I do, it's more powerful than someone saying, well, I'm a rider coach trainer. That doesn't mean squat to me. What means a lot to me is someone who has a lot of experience and a lot of varied experience and quality experience, who's willing to impart that or share that with me. That's much more powerful and overwhelming and nerve-wracking than anything.
Well, Dawn, I think to kind of go back to your question, you asked about the two different types of training, 10-day or multiple weekends. I think, yes, taking that stress out with the multiple weekend trainings is actually a disadvantage. That Wednesday of the 10-day prep is the day. I know it was my day, and it was definitely day for two that didn't come back on that Wednesday. But Wednesday of the 10-day is the day that my husband had to literally push me out of the bed, like get out of this bed and go to Montevello, because I was like, I don't want to go back. And he's like, no, you need to go back. If I would have had that break in between, I don't know if I would have went back. If I wouldn't have had that Wednesday stressor of this is who you're working with, and I knew who I was working with the next day. And I mean, I'd been there, class is 8 hours, but 8 hours turns into 12 very quickly. I don't think we would have been, the ones that graduated from that class that I work with now, we wouldn't be as good coaches, I feel like, under pressure if we would have done multiple weekends. We would have had a break in between. I think that we needed that extra push of stress.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure the spacing of the days totally eliminates or doesn't eliminate the stress of the situation. I've done preps that are 8 days straight through, and I've done preps that were 2 4-day weekends. I haven't done a weekend prep. I've done a trainer prep, and in that trainer prep, all kinds of stuff happened. Those RiderCoach candidates got the RiderCoach trainer candidates. Actually, I should say, they had so many experiences in that prep that normally wouldn't happen in that condensed amount of time, but did. And I can't even recall them all right now, but it was just like, holy crap. It was kind of amazing. And I've seen, coach candidates kind of melt down on all those schedules and goodbye, and that's okay. I've also seen coach candidates step up. I had a prep where, I forget the circumstances, but the schedule of the prep got jostled for some reason, and there were a couple of candidates that were not able to do student teaching on the scheduled weekend because of the change. And so they came back on another weekend, and it was 2 of them. And I had, we had assigned them certain exercises to coach, but that I was going to be there, and another coach was going to be there, to teach the gaps, to do the in-between. But they came and they were like, no, we want to teach the whole class. We're going to just step right in and do it. And so they did, right? They did their assigned stuff, and they did pretty much all the other exercises too. And me and my backup coach, we observed, and they did awesome. So I don't know. I think stress is good. I think if you're going to be stressed, it will happen. I think it might happen regardless of the time frame. It's what I'm thinking.
What about the continuity of learning when you take a break in the middle?
I think
what's nice,
in some respects, the break is good if it's used to better prepare. You've done your 4 days, and now you're going to come back, and they see, wow, this is what's expected of me. And if you're falling short, that couple of days in between is a chance to try to bring yourself up and meet the expectations. I suppose if you're not stressed enough in that first 4 days, maybe you get lax and you come back in the last 4 days and drop the ball. I haven't I don't have empirical evidence of that, but I suppose, again, I suppose it could work either way. Kind of depends on the coach, candidate, I'm guessing.
How many of you have had an opportunity to teach a BRC that is not packed all into one weekend, that's spread out over days that are separated for a BRC?
You during a prep?
No, just a plain old BRC. One of the schedules that
I have had like Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday, Sunday, yeah.
So what did you feel were the results, or do you feel there were different results with your BRC students who did 2 Saturdays rather than a Saturday, Sunday right in a row?
You know, maybe I don't have enough of them. You know, we've had them sporadically, but I haven't noticed a huge difference. But I haven't done like dozens and dozens of them to be able to say, you know, maybe to form a good enough opinion from that.
Saw your hand, Sarah. What are your thoughts?
When we usually do our BRC RiderCoach preps, we usually do them only on the weekends. We do 4 consecutive weekends in a row. And then also I've done classes where it's been 2 weekends in a row. And what we've found is just kind of giving that break in between kind of gives them that, okay, I have a minute, I have some time to kind of sit back, relax, let it kind of sink in. I know from reflecting back when I became a coach, that first weekend I was crying at the end because my trainer was very mean. And it was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. And I was like having like a breakdown, but it wasn't just me, it was everybody. We were all crying. All the guys, everyone was crying, and we were having a cry fest. And we're just like, I don't know if I want to do this. This kind of sucks. This is worse than boot camp. Some of my guys are in the military. They're like,
wrong.
huh?
I'm going to call up Surgeon and tell him he was wrong.
Yeah, and it was just like having that break really, I was like, okay, you know what, I can do this. This is fine. And it helps you to kind of regroup and gives you that mental break. So, you know, either way works great. But what I've found, you know, because we do it so often that it, you know, we tend to have pretty good results.
For my first several years teaching, the school at which I primarily taught offered classes that were, as an example, 2 Tuesday nights for classroom and 3 Wednesday nights for range. So it was spread out over 3 weeks. And we also had 1 weekend classes that were all Saturday, Sunday, and done. The 3-week classes, students were not particularly interested in them and tended to take them only if the weekend classes were full. But I always felt the students came out of the 3-week classes much better than the 1 weekend classes. They had that time to consolidate the information in between. And the only rare occasions that I had someone who would do worse would be someone who basically went and, well, I had one student I remember in particular who came back the second week and said, I don't understand why I'm doing so bad. I've been practicing on my scooter all week. Well, I told him, don't practice on your scooter between now and next week. Please don't. You don't have a clutch. But I just always felt they were better. And I like to say that students want a gourmet meal, but they want it on McDonald's time. And when they were willing to take the time to have the gourmet meal over 3 weeks, I just felt they got that gourmet meal. You can't get a gourmet meal in 1 weekend. It's not possible. And that's why I'm wondering if if others have had that same experience, or if it's just my warped view of the world.
Yes.
Yes. The answer to most of our questions is yes.
I like that perspective. And here's why I will tell you, you know, and this is, you know, Don's opinion. I don't think 20 hours is sufficient sometimes for a student, let alone, you know, what we put into an actual prep. And I go back to what Lynn said last week a little bit. that personal time you have with a student in the classroom, as opposed to what you're trying to teach or learn on the range, is special. And the more we go away from that personal contact of being with a student, the more concerned I get that we're rushing everything to fit everything else into the range. And I wonder where we're going to go with it.
Well, you know, it's really funny you say that, because
not that I was there or anything.
I had a class Monday and Tuesday of this week, which was a small class, and it became a class of one because people bailed at the last minute. And I would have canceled the class, but I was teaching it myself. So, you know, from an economic standpoint, it wasn't like I was paying a coach to teach the class. And I knew that the student had gone through hoops to rearrange their work schedule to be able to be there for those 2 days. And I just felt really bad about canceling on them. So it was just me and this woman. And she had taken the class a couple of years ago as part of a prep. She was in student teaching on a prep. And so it was just us. It was very personal. You know, we could kind of, we talked about lots of stuff. We actually talked about a lot of stuff besides motorcycling. We kind of hit it off and had many range. In fact, when the class was over, we sat down and talked for like an hour and a half just about stuff because we kind of hit it off there. But she said, wow, this was like a completely different experience from taking this in the prep. And she understood the parameters of the prep and everything. But obviously, I have a lot more experience and maybe more to share and knew where to direct that, you know, whereas in a prep, the prep is what the prep is, you know, we're getting that baseline level and maybe a little bit better. But it was interesting. It was interesting to hear her comment, you know, and I knew it would be very different, but I don't know. You know, I don't know. You know, as a site administrator, the thought of doing a 4-weekend prep is a big ouch. You know, financially, I mean, it would be a hardship.
Because you're tying up the range.
At the height of the season, you know, so you know, it would be hard to do, and I guess I would have to really weigh whether the outcome, the candidate outcome of a 4-weekend prep would be worth the expense to the site, you know, something to think about.
I think that really depends on what else the sponsor site is offering or what else the particular program is offering. We were talking earlier about what happens with candidates. Well, some, and Don talked about the wrapped program, that if you're in a state where the candidates get significant onboarding, then packing the rest of it all into 10 days straight probably isn't as horrible as if you have people who all you've seen is their application and they walk in the door and you have to have them for 10 days straight and they have no onboarding whatsoever.
And most of the preps I've done have been a mix, you know, they're there, you know, some of the people will be usually from my own site, but, you know, they come from all over. And I'm lucky at my particular range, I have dorm access. So if I don't fill a prep, we can fill it from other people and they can stay at the dorms for almost no money. So it's a handy way for me to fill a prep, but also, you know, for people to get into a prep without having to, you know, break the bank on a hotel. But the levels of preparation are all over the place. And clearly those that are well prepared, you know, like Ron's people, for example, they suffer less than those that come in with no preparation or bad preparation, you know, which would be the other aspect.
So how do you fix that?
Well, you know, we talked a few weeks ago about, you know, should there be some guidelines? And I've been thinking about that. I kind of like the idea of guidelines for RiderCoach candidate preparation as opposed to a formal course or something, you know, because I think each site has different things to offer and different levels of coaches, you know. I mean, to say this is what you have to do before people come to a prep, well, some sites might not be able to do that based on who they have on hand, but I think some guidelines would be good for people, or, the things not to do tips maybe as well, because I've experienced some of the not to do's as a QA person. So yeah, I mean, I think it would be great if we could bring the level of preparation up to something, and there's a lot of places that do it really well. So I think, to tap into those resources and find out specifically what they're doing might be worthwhile.
The potential trap with not having, I hate having consistency everywhere, because states should be able to do what they want, but not having the consistency. We had a candidate from Wisconsin who we tend to mentor our people pretty well and get them prepared pretty well for prep and help them realize, hey, you're going to have to be ready, basically walk in the door, ready to start peer teaching on day one. For various reasons, he ended up not being able to take his prep in Wisconsin, went to another state where some of the candidates who were in the prep with him basically were unwrapping their RiderCoach guide a couple days before prep started, and he was furious that he came very prepared and basically had to carry his classmates, that, all that work that he had put in, and now he's got to take care of his classmates to help them get through, and how they had to have all these late night study sessions that he felt as a team member he should go to, but ended up spending all that time teaching his classmates when he could have been sleeping.
I suffer with the desire to make it better, but understanding that the balance is not every place is the same. And so historically, the problem started in 2000 when we had a standardization document published by a government entity that was a minimalistic standard so everybody could meet it, because some people had no standard. So that tells you what the minimalistic standard was so that everybody could meet it. And then those people that did have a good standard or showed a good program of how it was supposed to work, their high standard maybe was reduced because everybody was already at the minimum standard. And so it has been a never-ending issue since that time. Once again, Don's opinion. So do we need a higher standard? A higher minimal standard? I mean, everything has come up in the quality, I think, just in the curriculums and where we are as with technology and writers and education. Is it time for a higher standard?
Higher standard for who? The coaches or the students?
How about the states and their programs?
The sites.
I don't know. I was thinking on a national level that there's an overarching recommendation for this is how things should run. And that recommendation actually brought us down. It didn't lift us up.
There needs to be a higher standard.
A fair standard.
But in our state, the biggest challenge we have is motorcycle safety is not the high priority.
Understood.
It's commercial driver's licensing and it's driver's education. So it's taken, I mean, for us, I guess, we're so far behind, but it's because there's never been a backing. They're just now starting to see a little bit, but yeah, there needs to be a higher standard. But
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you go. Motorcycling is the bastard stepchild.
Say that. Blasphemy.
Doesn't matter. Every state, regardless of how good their program is, it's just they're maybe slightly better at being the bastard stepchild, but we're still all, every state, every school, everywhere, we're not seen as important.
But I mean, how much of coming up to a higher standard is dependent on funding? I mean, you know, funding's part of it, but there's also an internal thing happening. And I mean, I look around our state and we have sites that are awesome and we have sites that are less than awesome. I think our sites that are less than awesome are still maybe better than sites at other places, you know, so I don't feel terribly bad, but it's not equal. You know, there's a sliding scale on how well the coaches are prepared and the management and everything else. And, you know, I mean, our QA teams are working to bring the lower levels up. And I think progress is being made, although this year we're losing a year this year because our QA visits aren't happening. You know, so I would look for ways to improve on a rider coach and a site level, and use that to feed the improvement of the RiderCoach preparation level. But I think the weaker sites in particular could use guidance on that, because there is no formal guidance on that right now. And like I said, I think I'm not crazy about the idea of it being a certification or something really formal. But I think it would be good if there were some guidelines or just tips. Here's some tips on how to help prepare coach candidates for their prep.
My biggest thing that I would like to see with our state, and we've mentioned it several times, and you know, in our highway safety committee meetings, is mentoring program. I mean, that's where I think that we could step it up a lot, is a good mentoring program where, you know, those rider coach trainers or rider coaches that have been teaching for, you know, quite some time, and you know that they're doing the right thing and they're going by the MSF standards, you know, they go out and help, especially the new rider coaches. That's what I would like to see, is more of a mentoring program.
With all this, including the mentoring program or having pre-course or auditing or whatever you want to call it, I think somebody hit the nail on the head. It all comes down to funding. What funding is available and what are you using it for? Well, all these are great conversations that lead us typically right back to where we started. We're getting close to the end of the evening, and I wanted to get back to something that Robin put up. I thought was rather interesting. Did everybody read the text he put out for getting people back to higher level courses or continuation learning? What are your thoughts on that? Did everybody read them? You want me to read them?
I read it. The first thing that comes to my mind, Don, is we talk about funding. Some of these folks just, they barely put together enough money to get the basic course out of the way, and for them that's their ends or means to an end, and that's kind of where they leave it. As far as many of the students that I've had come through that I've had to talk with, that's really all they desire to do is just the basic course because the endorsement, and they don't want to spend the money beyond that to get that. So,
well, and on a site level, I mean, I know that I make I make financial commitments to bringing my coach candidates and my new rider coaches, you know, up to higher levels by having extra coaches on hand to mentor the new coaches and provide mentoring opportunities. I know Ron puts in a lot of time, and time is money in preparing his candidates. But, you know, I'm sure there are a lot of training sites that don't spend a dime on getting coaches ready, you know, that they don't consider, oh, you know, if I have that extra coach there, they could be, you know, providing guidance and leadership to these people who are coming on board, or this is a brand new coach and maybe I should have a third coach on hand who's got experience to, you know, for those first few classes, or don't have that guy that's just at a prep teaching solo, you know, which I also am aware of happening. So, you know, maybe it's a matter of, for the sites to understand that, you know, a little bit of an investment would provide a better return for them, and maybe provide coaches that will last more than a season or two, you know, because they're getting something out of it themselves. They're fulfilled in their being a rider coach.
Do you feel that your efforts for mentorship and bringing people along are worth the time and effort and money for your site?
I think they're worth it, because I mean, of course, we have attrition. Every site has, you know, coaches that don't stick around, but I have a lot of coaches that have been here for a long time, and I feel comfortable with them. They're decent coaches. You know, the weak links are few and far between. You know, I've had my own site now for 20 years next year, and I feel it's worth it. And also from a liability standpoint, I feel it's worth it. You know, that I need coaches that I can put out there and turn my back on and walk away from, that I don't need to wonder what kind of crap is going on, and do I have to worry about their judgment. The coaches I've let go, it's been, I can't trust their judgment. They're immature, or you know, other issues of that nature. And if you train them right and mentor them right, and they get good experiences and see the way it's supposed to be, and are working with other people who are like-minded, I think that goes a long way. And you know, it cost me a couple of bucks, I suppose, but it's not breaking the bank. You know, it's not an untenable amount of money to, you know, have a couple of classes where there's an extra coach on hand.
And when you walk away, you know that they're doing the right thing. And that's worth more than you can put a price on.
Anyone else? So I was desperately hunting my library for something that may be applicable. And it kind of gets to the whole thing of standards and how much time do you put forward in hiring the right people and mentoring them and making them better, to build your team. And can't find it anywhere, but it comes from organizational behavior and human resource research, where it says that if you lower your standard for bringing somebody into an organization, that's exactly what you're going to get, is a lower standard. And anybody that you spent time on to improve, to make better, or somebody who is naturally just a go-getter and self-driven person who goes out there and does what they need, does the right thing, goes beyond, like we all hope everybody will do, just like we assume we are doing, there becomes friction and conflict, because somebody hired on a minimal standard typically stays at a minimal standard. And the person that has that drive and is self-directed continues to grow and learn and push forward. And so the problem when you diminish what the standards are is you get that large gap between the lowest standard and then probably what you want, which would be a very high standard of individual that you can mentor, that's self-directed. And so usually that causes more friction with the team. And what you end up losing is not the lowest common denominator. you lose the person you want to keep, the highest motivated, self-directed person, because they don't feel they're appreciated when we're accepting the low standard. So when we talk about either bringing in rider coaches or mentoring rider coaches, I think that's something that we should consider as part of the calculation for maybe raising the standard a little bit. It also happens, I know Robin's thoughts about writing for different reasons and bringing people in and getting them to a higher level course. Those are the people not only that we could possibly want for being a riding coach, but that's also where we want the society to go. So if we don't find a way to help our lowest level learner continue to learn and grow higher, then what we will expect from riders on the road will always be those lower standard learners. And so the reason why this is bouncing in my head is I've spent a few hours watching videos from IFZ and the 13th International Motorcycle Conference, and it always goes back to, why aren't we more involved in research in doing the things that they are in other countries? And that's because our standards are low. We give people a lot of freedom, as we should, and that's what we're all about. But we also don't hold them to a higher standard and don't ask for them to be better. We ask for them to be at the minimal standard.
Well, look at what you need to do to get a car driver's license in New York State compared to getting a car driver's license anywhere in Europe. It's definitely a different standard, and there's a professionalism and an aspiration. Getting a driver's license really is viewed as a privilege overseas because it's something you need to work for. It costs a few bucks. You have to put in required amount of time, and the level of training is higher. It's much superior to what mom and dad teach you here in America, before you go for your road test.
To jump off of that a little bit, I was in Connecticut over the weekend, and there was a big biker get together. I don't think it was a rally. It was just a bunch of guys having a barbecue, and gals, and they were literally stunting on the road with police cops or police cars, law enforcement officers, just hanging out on the side of the road and watching what was going on. And it completely changed my perspective of what goes on in Connecticut. But I've also, in New York, this last couple of days, been exposed to a lot of high-speed sport bikes running past me on the road as I'm out running. And so, I don't want to point fingers at any one place, but it seems to me we invite what we get by leaving the standards so low in America. Conversely, I'm only a year out of living in Europe and watching the riders in Europe, not American riders, but the European riders. You can tell that they're serious about riding, serious about the gear, and that they've gone through a process of learning. And in one of the conferences I watched today, I saw a pie chart of motorcycle crashes against respective other vehicles in Europe. And America overrepresents in such charts. And that's, probably one of the biggest reasons why I like to get together with y'all and find ideas to maybe make this better. Maybe it's graduated licensing, tiered licensing. It's got to be something. So I'll get off my soapbox now. I'm sorry. Who's had the opportunity to look at the free 13th Annual International motorcycle companies? Anybody? A little bit. All right. I recommend you just go out and, you know, look at the presentation, see what's happening. And I ask you, why don't we have something like that here in the United States as part of IRAS or whatever? I feel like
I'm sorry, because as Rita said, we are the bastard stepchildren.
we're the bastard stepchildren because we allowed ourselves to get kicked to the curb.
If we allowed ourselves to, we wouldn't be here. We'd like to see it change, but we don't have the means and the resources to do it by ourselves.
So there's something I'm learning called talking about it and action. So that's why I stand on my soapbox and do what I do. And I know you all are part of the group that, you know, are there trying to make things better. And I appreciate that. But we got to do better. The collective we have to do better. And I'm trying to find ways to do better.
Ron, we do have the means. We're all right here. We just need to keep trying. We're the little boy putting our finger in the dike. We can make a difference. We just have to keep working at it.
You're absolutely right, Rita. That's why I do this and have done it for 35 years.
Can move mountains.
I'm just in it for the money.
What's that, Robin?
I'm just in it for the money.
Yeah, okay. And the beer, right?
I need one. So with that, Lynn, I sent you a document. Did you get it? In the chat.
Okay. I think that's our cue to leave. Good
No.
night, everyone.
Good night,
Thank
Ron.
you,
Hey,
Thanks for
it's
the
Don's birthday tomorrow. We should all sing happy birthday.
Okay, go for it. Start us out.
Goodbye.
Come on, y'all.
Good evening.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
you. Happy birthday
birthday
to
to you.
Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday, Big Don. Happy birthday.
Now I really have to drink.
Sarah, I'm never gonna let you know when it's my birthday.
We have our ways, Ron. We have our ways.
Okay.
Don't tell on yourself.
Nicole, did
Good night,
you get
everyone.
the message about the program administrator stuff? Muted.
Yes, I saw that.
All right, so you'll get an email in the future, all right?
Okay, I'll be looking for it.
Thank you.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Bye. You want me to send it to you by Facebook? Lynn?
Well, where did you send it?
It's right above Robin's email, my thoughts.
Where did you send it? I mean, did you send it by, what method did you send it? Email or text or?
The chat in Zoom.
A chat in Zoom. Okay, so let me go into chat. Right. Okay. Sorry, I'm still privately. I see it now. Hang on a minute. Let me save that and I will open it. Yes, I got it.
All right, good. Just if you would please, feedback is always good.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. I love you. Have a nice evening.
Bye.